Welcome to English Stories for Listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you genuinely want to be fluent in English.
Hi, my name is Alicia. I remember when I first tried to speak English, I was nervous. My heart was racing, and I thought everyone would laugh at me. But let me tell you a little story. One day I was sitting in a park, and I saw a small bird. This bird wanted to fly, but it was scared. It flapped its wings a little, then stopped. But after some time, the bird tried again. And this time, it flew. Learning to talk in English is just like that. You may feel scared at first, but if you keep trying, you will fly. When I first learned English, I made a lot of mistakes. I said the wrong words, and sometimes people didn't understand me. But I kept going. I didn't stop. And soon I started to get better. So, the first thing I want to tell you is do not be afraid. Everyone makes mistakes. Even the best speakers were once beginners. One time I went to a store and I tried to ask for water. I said, "I want wet." The shopkeeper looked at me strangely and I felt so embarrassed. But then I laughed at myself. It's okay to laugh at your mistakes because that's how you learn. The next time I said water and he understood. Another tip is to listen carefully. Just like the bird in the park, listen to how others speak. When I was learning, I listened to English songs and watched English movies. I didn't understand everything at first, but over time I started to pick up new words. You can do the same. Listen to the sounds, the words, and the emotions behind them. Soon you will start to understand more. One day I was watching a movie and there was a sad scene. Even though I didn't know all the words, I could feel the sadness. I cried. And that's when I realized English is not just about words, it's about feelings. So, when you speak, speak from your heart. When you talk to someone in English, use simple words. You don't need to use big fancy words. Simple words are enough. For example, instead of saying "I am extremely hungry," you can just say "I am very hungry." People will understand you and you will feel more confident. Let me share another story. I once met a man from another country. He didn't speak English well, but he tried. He smiled. You smiled, used his hands to show what he meant, and spoke slowly. And guess what? I understood him. We even became friends. You see, English is not just about speaking perfectly. It's about trying, being friendly, and making connections. Another important tip is to practice every day. Even if it's just for a few minutes, practice talking in English. When I was learning, I used to talk to myself in English. I would say things like, "I am going to the store," or "I like this book." It may feel strange at first, but it helps. I remember one day, I was in front of a mirror, pretending to talk to someone. I was saying, "Hello, how are you?" over and over. It felt silly, but I was practicing. And when I finally talked to someone in real life, it was easier because I had already practiced. Another thing that helped me was reading books. I started with children's books because the language was simple. I would read out loud, even if no one was listening. This helped me learn new words and how to pronounce them. You can try this too. Start with easy books and as you get better, you can move on to more difficult ones. One day, I read a story about a girl who wanted to climb a mountain. She was afraid because the mountain was very high and she didn't think she could do it. But she kept trying, one step at a time. And in the end, she reached the top. Learning to talk in English is like climbing that mountain. You may feel like it's too hard, but if you take it step by step, you will reach the top. It's also helpful to find a friend who is learning English too. You can practice together. When I was learning, I had a friend named Maria. She was also learning English, and we would talk to each other in English every day. Sometimes we made mistakes, but we would help each other. Having a friend to practice with makes the journey more fun. I also want to tell you to never give up. There will be times when you feel like you are not improving. I remember feeling that way too. But every time I felt like giving up, I would remind myself of that little bird in the park. It didn't fly the first time, but it kept trying. And so did I. And so should you. When you start speaking English, you may feel like people are judging you. But the truth is, most people are kind and patient. They understand that you are learning, and they will try to help you. One time I was at a restaurant and I couldn't understand the menu. I asked the waiter for help, and he was very kind. He explained everything to me. Don't be afraid to ask for help. People are usually happy to help you. Also, remember to smile when you speak. A smile can make everything easier. Even if you make a mistake, a smile can show that you are trying. When I was learning, I smiled a lot. It made people more patient with me, and it made me feel more confident. Let me tell you about another experience I had. I was on a bus and I wanted to ask the driver a question. I was nervous because my English wasn't perfect, but I took a deep breath and asked, "Where does this bus go?" The driver smiled and answered me. And in that moment, I felt so proud of myself. You will have moments like that too. Moments where you feel proud because you tried. Another thing you can do is to write in English. When I was learning, I kept a journal. Every night I would write a few sentences about my day. It didn't matter if my sentences were perfect. What mattered was that I was practicing. Writing helps you think in English, and it helps you remember new words. One night I wrote in my journal, "Today I am happy because I learned a new word. It was a small thing, but it made me feel good." You can do this too. Write about your day, your feelings, or anything that comes to your mind. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just write. Finally, I want to tell you to believe in yourself. There will be days when you feel like you are not getting better. There will be days when you make mistakes. But remember, every mistake is a step forward. Every time you try, you are getting better. Let me leave you with this thought: learning English is a journey. It's not about being perfect. It's about trying, learning, and growing. Just like the bird in the park, you may feel scared at first, but if you keep flapping your wings, one day you will fly. As I continue, let me remind you of one important thing: speaking English is not a race. It's a journey, and every journey takes time. Sometimes we want to be perfect right away, but it's okay to go slowly. Be patient with yourself. If you rush, you may feel frustrated, and frustration makes learning harder. Here's a tip that really helped me think in English. This might sound strange at first, but it's powerful. When I was learning, I would catch myself thinking in my own language. But then I started to practice thinking in English. For example, if I saw a tree, instead of thinking about the word for tree in my language, I would think, "That's a tree." When I felt hungry, I would tell myself, "I am hungry" in English. At first it was hard, but the more I did it, the easier it became. If you start thinking in English, speaking will come more naturally because you won't have to translate in your mind. You will just say what you are already thinking. Another tip is to slow down when you speak. When I first started speaking English, I felt like I had to talk fast, like native speakers. But I realized that speaking slowly helps you think about what you want to say. It also makes it easier for people to understand you. One day, I was talking to a woman at the market. I was nervous, and I started speaking too fast. She couldn't understand me, and I felt embarrassed. But then, I took a deep breath and started again, slowly this time. And guess what? She understood me. So don't worry about speed. It's better to speak slowly and clearly. Also, don't be afraid to repeat yourself if necessary. If someone doesn't understand you the first time, it's okay to say it again. I used to feel shy about repeating myself, but I learned that people appreciate it when you try to make things clear. Let's talk about listening again because it's so important. Listening is like filling your mind with the right sounds and patterns. When I was learning, I would sometimes close my eyes while listening to English. This helped me focus on the words and their rhythm. You can try this too. Close your eyes, listen to a conversation, a song, or even the sound of someone reading a book. It helps you feel the language, not just hear it. When you listen to someone, don't focus on understanding every single word. Focus on understanding the meaning. Sometimes I would get stuck on a word I didn't know, and I would miss the rest of the conversation. But over time, I learned to let go of the words I didn't know and focus on the overall meaning. This way, I understood more, and I didn't feel so lost. Another thing that helped me was repeating phrases that I heard. For example, if I heard someone say, "How are you?" I would repeat it quietly to myself. This helped me practice speaking without feeling nervous. You can do this too. When you hear a new phrase, say it to yourself. Repeat it until it feels natural. One day, I was watching a movie, and I heard the actor say, "What's the matter?" I repeated it quietly, over and over. The next week, I used that phrase in a conversation, and it felt so good to say it naturally. Little things like this make a big difference over time. Use technology to your advantage. There are so many apps and websites that can help you learn English. When I was learning, I didn't have many tools, but now you can find language exchange apps where you can talk to native speakers. You can also watch videos or listen to podcasts that match your level. Use these tools as much as you can. Another tip is to pay attention to body language when you're speaking or listening. Sometimes people communicate a lot through their body language. If you are unsure of a word, look at the other person's face, their hands, or how they are standing. These clues can help you understand what they mean, even if you don't know all the words. One time, I was at a cafe and the waiter didn't speak English very well. But I noticed that when he said "here," he pointed to a table near us. Even though I didn't understand his exact words, his gesture made everything clear. So, if you're not sure of a word, remember that communication is more than just words, it's also actions. It's also a great idea to watch yourself speak in a mirror. This may sound funny, but it really works. When you watch yourself, you can see how your mouth moves when you say certain words. You can also practice expressions. For example, if you are practicing saying "I'm happy," you can try to smile and show happiness on your face. This helps because English is not just about words, but also about how we express feelings. Ask questions whenever you can. If you don't understand something, it's okay to ask, "What does this mean?" or "Can you say that again?" People will be happy to help you. When I was learning, I used to feel shy about asking questions, but I realized that asking is part of learning. The more you ask, the more you learn. Let me tell you about the time I asked someone what cloudy meant. I didn't know the word, so I asked, and the person pointed to the sky and explained it to me. After that, I never forgot what cloudy meant. This shows how important it is to ask questions. Here's a fun tip: sing in English. I love music, and I found that singing helped me a lot. When you sing, you learn new words, practice pronunciation, and you feel the rhythm of the language. You don't have to be a good singer to do this. Just find a song you like, listen to it, and sing along. It's a fun way to practice. One of my favorite songs was a simple children's song, and I would sing it all the time. It helped me learn new words, and it made me feel more confident. You can do this too. Singing makes learning English feel less like work and more like play. Another thing that really helped me was surrounding myself with English. I changed the language on my phone to English. I wrote my shopping lists in English. I even started thinking about my daily tasks in English, like I need to cook dinner or I will go to the store. By doing this, I created an environment where English was all around me. You can do the same. You can set your phone, your computer, and even your social media to English. This way you are practicing all the time without even realizing it. Finally, let me tell you the most important thing: enjoy the process. Learning a new language can feel difficult at times, but if you find ways to enjoy it, it becomes easier. Celebrate your small victories. If you learn a new word, be proud of yourself. If you have a short conversation in English, even if it's not perfect, give yourself credit. Each step you take is a step forward. Just like the little bird in the park, you will get stronger each time you try. You may not fly right away, but with patience, practice, and a positive attitude, you will soar higher than you ever thought possible. Thank you for listening. And remember, you are already on your way to becoming a great English speaker. Keep going, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself.